Hey guys, back again with another video, and in this video it's part 2 of our local business lead generation outreach mega automation, let's call it for lack of a better term. In the first video, if you remember, if you haven't checked it out, by the way, I'll put a link in the description below or somewhere up here so you can check it out. But what we did is we started to scrape Google for local businesses using Google Maps, pulling in all the information into a database like this, finding email addresses, website addresses, phone numbers, all that good stuff to start building our database. In this video, what we'll be doing is making use of the data that we have, and we're going to build a pretty big automation here that allows us to fire over the data from Airtable that we want. We're going to send it into Appify. Again, we used Appify a lot in the first video, but we're going to send it into Appify. What that's going to do is it's going to crawl that lead's website. Once that's done, we're going to strip all the text from the website and we're going to drop it into a Google document. We're going to drop that document into the vector storage of our custom ChatGPT AI assistant so that it has a database of knowledge to work with. Then we're going to message that assistant to create a report. We're going to create the report in Google Docs. We're going to update our database in Airtable again. And essentially that workflow will be managed through this Kanban board. So once we have the report ready, it's going to be report approved. And then once we move something to, once the report's ready, it will be moved into this report generated column. And then once we move it to report approved, once we've checked it over, made any edits that we want, make sure that it looks nice and is useful for the customer, then we're going to move it into report approved. And at that point, we're then going to trigger a second automation here to get the content of the report first. We're going to put the content of the report and a really specialized prompt in with Claude to create the email for us. We're going to use ChatGPT here to just structure some data, and then we're going to send an email and then update the Airtable record so that we can make sure that we update our outreach CRM here and we know when an email has been sent. And then we can work this as like a proper lead, a proper sales process, and we've created like a mini CRM here in Airtable. Airtable's so cool, right? I mean, it's just so cool to see all the different stuff that you can do, the different views that you can use in this. So we're going to be making the most of that in this video. Last video, we only got up to the data collection. So this next video, we're going to be building out this report process and this CRM feature. And yeah, let's get stuck in. As always, if you do want to download the Airtable database, and if you also want to download these make.com templates, so you can just plug and play these yourself, check the description below. There'll be a link down there. It will take you to a landing page. You drop your details in. There'll be an email that comes after a minute or two. Sometimes the email can be a little bit delayed, so just be aware of that. And then you can confirm your subscription, and then another email will come a couple of minutes later with all of the templates. So let's jump into this video and start getting this built out. All right, so jumping back into our Airtable database that we were working on in the last video, we've got a bunch of data, we've got some email addresses. The data request here was for carpenters in Stoke in the UK. And we've got our test data set that I'm going to work with for this video. So the first thing that we want to do is, now that we've got email addresses as well taken care of, we want to be able to send emails to these people that have email addresses with a website report. So we want to visit their website, we want to do a report automatically, of course, and then populate that into an email to send out and do some outreach. This view that we're in now is going to be the view that we house all of our data fields in. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is just change this to all data. We're going to make use of a few different views in this video. And because we want to run our report process where we actually want to create the report, and we've got to manage that, and we do have to have some manual intervention to make sure that the report is good enough. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to create a report status field. So I'm going to call this report status, single select. I'm going to add an option. The first thing that I'm going to put down here, just to signal that the email scrape that we did in the last video is completed, I'm just going to put this down as data obtained. Then we want a status which is just called ready, which is what we're going to move manually each one of these leads to. Then and that will trigger the automations that we'll get onto separately. Then we'll have report generated. Then we'll have report approved, which is our final sign off of the report. Okay, so I'm just going to add those in. Now, when we do mark this lead as ready to have a report generated for itself, obviously we're going to use Google Docs and we're going to use AI to be able to create that report, but we need to store it somewhere and we need to easily be able to access that inside Airtable. So I'm going to just create a field here called report link, just so we've always got access to that. Then there's also going to be a document ID that we're going to need to use for our automations. So we're going to call this document ID, single line. And I'm going to add one other field here for our outreach status. And we're going to essentially create two Kanban boards, one for the report workflow and one for the outreach. So I'm going to call this outreach status. Single select. I'm going to go email sent. Then we're going to say responded. And then we're going to say working. This is going to be like a typical CRM, basic CRM fields, or stages, should I say. And then you can have just like won and closed or won and lost. Let's mark won as green and lost as red. We'll put working as yellow. So we're creating a CRM off the back of this, off the back of all this automation, which is awesome for our team to be able to manage these deals through. So now that we've got our fields set up, we can start working on our automation. Again, the last thing that happened in our automation in the last video is we scraped the email addresses to find the ones that we could from our data list. If an email is found, we want to easily be able to see that so we can start working on the report workflow. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create an automation here. So that says, oh, that's our old one. So I'm just going to add a new automation here. So create automation. It's going to be update report status to data obtained. So when a record is updated, we're going to select our table of lead data. We're going to select our view of all data. We're going to select our field as email. So when email is updated, let's use any of these for a test. Actually, let's try and use, yeah, that's fine. So when the email field is updated and the email here, so we're going to click on this condition, we're going to add, and the email is not empty. Okay, so when the email is updated and the email is not empty, we're then going to click on this add an action and we're going to update the record. So it's going to be same record in the table. So lead data is the table. The record ID will be the Airtable record ID here. Then we're going to update the field, which is report status. I'm going to update this to data obtained. Okay. Generate preview. Just so that we can make sure that this is working. All right, so it would look like that, right, in the preview. So now I'm just going to turn this on. Then I'm going to come back over to our data. I'm just going to do something here just to sort of show this working. I'm just going to copy all these emails. I'm going to delete them. And then I'm going to just move our report status over just so that we can see. And then I'm just going to copy these emails back in. And then our automation should start to run and then update this report status. There you go. You can see it working now. So anywhere where there's an email, our report status is data obtained. So now what we want to do is we want to create our report workflow Kanban. So I'm going to click on Kanban down here to create a new Kanban view. I'm just going to call this report workflow. And then we're going to sort this by the report status, right? So that's the stacking field is report status. And that means that the stages along the top are going to be the report statuses. These uncategorized ones are the ones that don't have any emails. So for now, we're just going to collapse that and get rid of them because we don't need to see them in this view. But now we have a bunch of leads in here that we've collected email addresses for. Now, the reason why I don't trigger this automation to go and just create the website report and send the email and do all of that stuff automatically is because if you're searching for local businesses in to sell to in like Google Maps, which is what we did in the previous video to scrape the data, sometimes what's going to happen is you're going to get like big chains in here. So in America, for example, you might get like Walmart in here, or in the UK, you might get people like B&Q, or you're going to get big chains, and obviously we don't want to waste our energy sending out emails to people at these big chains because we're not selling to those people. So the reason why I like to have this first column here is because I want to check each one to make sure that it is a good lead for us to actually put through this process. We don't want to waste our time on leads that isn't. Now you could obviously just play the numbers game here and just spam out as much as you want, but that's not what I'm trying to do, or that's not what I would sort of advise people to do. But yeah, you could do that if you wanted to, and you could just kind of forget this step and just automate this whole thing. But hey, I'm just showing you how I would think about this, and yeah, I like to have the manual intervention to make sure that we are reaching out to the right people, and it's a good opportunity. All right, so we've got our report workflow set up. Now we need to build the automation to actually generate the report when we move the status to ready. So I'm going to come into our scenarios. I'm going to create a new scenario. I'm going to call this local business outreach, 1 of 2, and this is going to be creating the report. So obviously we want to trigger this when the Airtable status is moved from data obtained to ready. So if I move this guy over here, we want this to then start the process off. And I might grab a bunch of them at the same time and go, yeah, these are good, these are good, these are good, so to make it faster. But yeah, I'm going to drop this guy in, tradeteacher.co.uk. And then we're going to, in here, have a Airtable for watch records. Then we're going to connect it to our base. So I'm going to come in here, connect it to our base. We're going to then also link it to the table once it's done its searching. Lead data. Okay, we don't have a trigger field right now. So one of the things that we need to do is come back into all data, and we need to come over here, click on add a new field, and I'm just going to call this last modified. So we need to add this last modified field so that whenever a record is updated, it will trigger the automation for it to check, right? So to check things. So I'm just going to hide this because we don't need that. The trigger field now, if I just refresh this, we're going to have our last modified. The label field for this, I'm just going to use as the company. And I might drag more than 10 of these in at the same time. So I'm just going to up this to 100. Because what you can see down here, this triggers every 15 minutes. So we want to change that probably to every sort of like 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, and if I bulk move people to status ready, then I want to make sure that there's enough limit here for it to be able to pull all the records. Now we're going to have a formula, right? So the formula here is what we need to check for is if this has been updated within the last 2 minutes, the formula needs to check that the report status is now equal to ready, right? So the way that we do that is we use curly brackets to reference the column, the field name. So I'm going to call this report, and it needs to match exactly. So report space status, curly brackets, equals, and I'm going to open quotation marks and our close quotation marks, and then ready in the middle. So report status equals ready. If I click on OK, you'll notice if I come back over here and if I look on our report workflow, I've only got one in this ready status. So if I click here, choose manually, it's going to look and it's going to search for that based on that formula. And you can see down here, construction skills college. So if you look down here, you can see that Construction Skills College, that is the one that we're working with. So we're going to use that one. I'm going to click on it and then click on OK. I'm just going to run this once just so we grab the data from the record. Awesome. So now we can work with this in our automation. So the next thing that we want to do is run an actor in Appify. And an actor is the scraper or a crawler or whatever we want to call it. So I'm going to click on Appify. We used a bunch of Appify stuff in the last video. So if you're not familiar with Appify, I'd recommend that you watch that last video and check that out. I'm going to run this actor here. If I come over to Appify and I'm just going to come over to the store, this is the one that you want here. It's a pretty popular one. It's maintained by Appify. So if you click on this one, this is the one that you want to use. And like usual with Appify, if you haven't used this one before, if you haven't used this crawler at all before, you do need to run it first in Appify so that it then shows up in our make scenario here. So usually there'll just be like a test URL in here. Just click save and start to just do a run first. Make sure it does one crawl first. And then once you've used it once, we can come over to our make.com scenario here. If we click on our actor, scroll down in this menu, and we should find our Appify website content crawler. So let's use that. Input JSON. So if we come back over to our website content crawler, this is obviously the settings for the scraper. There's a bunch of stuff you can play around with here in the crawler settings. What we're going to do here is click on JSON. And this is going to give us all of the settings in JSON format. So I'm just going to highlight all of these, copy, and then we're going to paste into here. And essentially what we want to do is replace this URL with the URL for our lead, right? So if I scroll down here, you can see we find it here. I'm just going to highlight this, delete, and then between those two quotation marks, we can see our URL. I'm going to pull that in and drop that in there. So now I'm going to click on OK. We just double check that actually, make sure that we're good. Timeout memory, yeah, this is good. So with the settings here, one of the things that you can do is like you can change how many pages deep it will crawl. So if you look at the crawler settings, you can put like the max crawling depth here. So maybe you only want to do 5 pages. We're doing a website report for small businesses here, so we don't want to go super deep if they have got loads of pages, though you can do. We just want to get a feel for like what their pages are. You can play around with this to make sure this is whatever you want. I'm just going to set this to 5 just for the sake of this video, just to make things move a little bit faster and a little bit smoother. So okay, so we're going to watch our record. When we move to ready, we're going to start this this website crawler to go and get the website data. So what we want to do is we need to build a little sleep timer into here just to wait for that to finish. So I'm going to click on tools. I'm going to move down to sleep. 180 is what I found about right for crawling 5 pages. You have to play around with that. It might take longer if you're crawling more, but you don't want this to time out really. So the next thing that we're going to do is go back to Appify, and then we're going to say get dataset items. So what we want is the dataset ID of this actor. Right? So once it's done this crawl, we want to pull all the data. So if we scroll down to here, we got dataset ID. We're going to drop that in, and then I'm going to click on OK. And just to show you what a run looks like for this, so if I come back over to this page, you can see I've run this 18 times already. So I'm going to click on that, and I'll show you the last one that I did. So this is the output, right? So it gives you the web page URL, and then it gives you the extracted text that it's found on that page, and it gives you a bunch of those in an array. So if you look at the JSON here, for example, it gives you an array of a list of different pages that it's scraped. So one of the things that we need to do is, because this data set is going to return a bunch of different pages and results, we actually need to merge them all just into one result. I'll show you what I mean. So if I click on run this module, actually if I right click on this, I'm going to choose where to start. I'm going to choose our website, Construction Skills College, and then I'm just going to run this. You can see it's going to run the actor, and then we're going to have 180 seconds here, and then we'll look at the data set and I'll show you what I mean, but I will come back in 2 minutes. All right, so this is run now. If we have a quick look here, you can see if I look in the outcome, you can see if I look at the outcomes here, the output, you've got a bunch of these different bundles. So, each one of these is a page that it's crawled. We've got our 5 pages that we put as our max. So what we want to do is we want to combine all of those bundles just into one, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to click on add a new module. We're going to search for JSON, and then we're going to click on aggregate to JSON. The source module is going to be our Appify get dataset items. And then we need to choose a data structure. And we're going to create a new one here. So if I click on add a data structure, I'm just going to call this website crawl bundle. And then we're going to create 2 fields here. I'm going to call this top one title. And then I'm going to add the second one as markdown. So this is going to be the markdown for the pages that it scrapes. So if I click on save, I'm going to click on OK. If I open this up, we've now got a space for the title. So we're going to drop that in here. And then we've got the markdown, which is in here somewhere. There it is. So that's the markdown for each page. That's the content of each page formatted with markdown. So now what happens is it's going to take each one of those bundles and it's just going to compile it into just one output rather than 5 different ones or 10 different ones, however many pages you're crawling. And then what we want to do is we want to put this into a very simple Google Doc, right? So I'm going to click on Google Docs. I'm going to click on create a document. And the reason why we're putting this into a Google Doc is because we're actually creating a document here to feed into our ChatGPT AI assistant. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to call this website crawl data for space, and then I'm going to come down and grab the company name, right? So Construction Skills College Limited, that's going to be what it is. Now the content is just going to be the JSON string from the aggregate to JSON. And then we're just going to create for this video, I'm just going to add this to my root drive. You can kind of add this anywhere because in this workflow, I'm going to delete this anyway after we've uploaded it into the ChatGPT database. But now we can test this again, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click choose where to start. I'm going to choose manually. I'm going to grab our data. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to run this once. And again, I'll come back once this is processed, guys, and I'll show you the output. All right, so let's take a quick look at the output. We've got a new document that's been created. If I just click here, I'm going to look at the web view link. I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to open this up. And essentially, this is the crawl data that we've got for this website. So it's pulled a bunch of data from the website. It's basically scraping all the text off the website and the pages and stuff that it's found. Then what we're going to do is we're going to need to pass this over to our ChatGPT AI assistant to create our report. So I'm going to come over to platform.openai.com. Let's open that up. I should already be logged in. You need to create your ChatGPT account if you don't have one already. Come over to dashboard. Let me go over to my default project here. And then if I click on assistants, we've got our website review assistant, right? So if you want to create a new assistant from scratch, you just click on create, and then you're going to be presented with these fields here, all right? So what we've got is the name. So we've got website review assistant. Then we've got the system instructions. So this is the instructions for the assistant. You're a local business website expert that understands local SEO, conversion-focused web design, and copywriting at a deep level. Your goal is to create a detailed report on local business website. You get the idea, guys. This isn't refined in any way, shape, or form. I quickly knocked this one up to get some good enough results for this video. But this would require some refining and making sure that it's tweaked for your specific situation, and you get what you need out of the report and what's useful for your potential clients. We kind of give it like an idea of what to include. So a summary, small list of things the website does well, a large list of things the website needs to improve on and why, and a list of quick wins that a non-techie person could implement on their own. Access the website crawl data in your vector storage. So when we create an AI assistant like this, we can give it a tool here. So we'd actually just leave the model at 4.0, by the way. And then, yeah, we can give it access to this file search tool. So if you turn file search on, I'm just going to create a new assistant just to show you like what that process looks like. So if I'm in here, if I turn file search on, what we need to do is then give it access to a vector store. All right. So once you turn the file search on, you click on plus files, and then you're going to want to select a vector store. If you click on this, it's going to ask you for an ID. So what you want to do is come over to vector stores first. You want to create a new vector store, and I would just call it website report assistant vector store. You see I've already created one here, website review assistant vector store. And then you want to grab this ID. So you grab that ID there. Then you come back over to your assistant. And then when you turn the file search on, you click on plus files, click select vector store, drop your ID in. It's going to search it, and then you can select that vector store. You can select that vector store, and then that vector store is now attached to this assistant. And that's the vector store. That's the database that we're going to add the crawl data into so that the assistant can do its work. As I say, I've already set up this assistant here, so I'm just going to use this one, but you get the idea in terms of how that can work. You can set your own assistant up and play around with the parameters. So let's come back over to our automation. So we've created our document with the website crawl data. One thing that we need to do before we pass it into the database storage is we actually have to download this document into our make scenario so that make can use it and pass it through to ChatGPT. So what we do is we click on plus module. We're going to click on Google Docs. We're going to click on download a document. The document ID, I'm going to click on map. We're going to open that up, and we're just going to grab the document ID from this last this last node or module. I combined those two words there. And then we're going to change this type here to .txt. This is really important. You have to have a .txt to upload it to the vector database. So we're going to click on OK. So now that we've downloaded the document, the next thing that we want to do here is go to OpenAI, and we actually want to upload a document, right? So we're going to click on upload a file. So we're going to grab that file, that .txt file. We're going to then click on, make sure you're on the right connection for your OpenAI account. We're just going to leave that as selected Google Docs downloaded document. So it's grabbing that document. The purpose is assistance, that's fine. That's it. So we're just going to upload it. Yep. Then we're going to, actually I'm just going to click save here while we're here. And then we're going to then use that uploaded file and add it to the vector storage. So we're going to add files to vector store. Make sure it's the right connection, which it is, and then leave it on choose vector store. Then it's going to ask us which vector store do we want to add it to. I'm going to use this one, website review assistant vector store. And the file ID, I'm going to turn the map on, click on this, and we're going to use the file ID that we just created. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm just going to save that. So just to be clear here, guys, just to show again what's happening is we created the crawl data into a document. We downloaded that document so that we have the actual file itself. And then we've uploaded that file into our ChatGPT space. And then we've added that file into the vector storage so that now we can use it. Now, before we call the ChatGPT assistant, there's just two things that I like to do. The first thing is I actually want to delete this document that we've uploaded into ChatGPT because I don't want just loads of just random crawl data just clogging up my Google Drive. You might not want to do this. You might want to keep it for whatever reason. But for me, I just want to delete that. So I'm going to click on delete a document. And the document ID is going to be the one from earlier. So we created that document, we've uploaded it to ChatGPT now, so I don't need it anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. And I'm just going to add a quick sleep in here, just to give the system some time, just to make sure that everything's uploaded and it's kind of done what it needs to do. So I'm only going to use 10-second delay here before we then call ChatGPT. You probably don't need to do that, but I just want to make sure that everything's all uploaded and good to go before we message our assistant and ask it to create our report. So now we're going to look for our assistant. which we created earlier. It's going to be our website review assistant. We're going to give it a really simple prompt. Please create an amazing website report for the company name. The crawl data is in the vector storage. We're going to click on OK. And then we're going to take the output of this and we're going to create a new Google Doc, which is the basis of the report. I'm going to call this website report for, and then we're going to grab the company name. So scroll back down to the Airtable, grab the company. So now we're going to have a new report for each company every time this runs. The content is going to be the result of the message and assistant. And then I've got a folder set up in here already for website reports. So I'm just going to drop that into there. I'm going to click on OK. If you want to set up your own folder, obviously you can create a structure that works for you. So now we have everything that we need to create the document. I'm just going to click save here, guys, to make sure that we don't lose any of our progress. I'm going to click on Airtable. And then the last thing that we need to do in this automation, and then we'll move on to the second part, which is sending the email. We're going to click on base. We're going to update our Airtable database. Going to go to table, lead data. Going to use the record ID right from the beginning. So I'm going to grab this record ID. And then we now have a report status that we want to move to report generated. We want to add the report link in. So we're going to use the create a document here. We're going to use the web view link. And then we also want to grab our document ID because we're going to need to use that in the next automation. So we're going to use the document ID, drop that in there. And then we can then go to OK. And that's our first automation done. All right, so I'm going to click save once more. I'm going to click run once more. I'm going to choose where to start, choose manually. And if we just come back to our Airtable database here, we've got our one guy in ready that we've been using this whole time. So here he is. What we're going to do is run him through the process, and then we should have him in, at the end of this, we should have him in report generated. We should have a link to the report and all that good stuff. So I'm just going to click on OK. I'm going to click run once, and then I'll check back in with you guys once this is finished, and we'll take a look at the results. All right, so that's now run all the way through, guys. Let's come back over to our Airtable database. We've got our report generated. So if I click on this, it's going to open everything up. If I scroll down, we can see we've got our document ID and we've got our report link. So if I open that up, we've now got our website report. So it's got a summary, it's got the strengths of the website, it's got areas for improvement, it's got some quick wins. So what I would do is I would spend a little bit of time and I'd grab a quick screenshot of the site and I would just upgrade this, obviously, so it doesn't just look like a bunch of markdown, to something a bit more like this, right? Now this is still pretty basic, but at least it's got like a screenshot of the site in here. Now you could do this manual work. There is a way as well, and maybe I'll cover this in another video, that you can create a template document that has a title and has a summary heading, and you could fill in a template based off of a ChatGPT output. So that it's consistent and you can create different styling and you can have, I suppose, more brand friendly styling in here. So it's not so, I suppose, just cut and dry like this. But for the purposes of this video, what I'm trying to do is just show you guys what's possible here, and I'm going to let you refine this whole system for the way that works best for you. But like I say, if you do want to know how to like create a document template and then have a ChatGPT assistant fill that, let me know in the comments below, and maybe we can create a separate video that shows you exactly the ins and outs of how to do that. So once you've updated your report, so this was the one that we got as an output, let's just assume that you've gone through and you've updated everything and you're happy for this to be sent. What you would do is then just move this over to report approved, and then we want that to trigger our second automation, which is going to create an email and then send that email to the customer, or potential customer, should I say. So let's set that up next. I'm going to create a new view here. So I'm going to click on Kanban, and I'm going to call this Outreach CRM. Create new view. And then I'm going to click for the stacking field here. I'm going to use the outreach status. I'm going to click on done. And then I'm just going to collapse that stack, right? And again, what we want to do is report approved. When a record is updated to report approved, we want to trigger this automation. And then once the email is sent, it's going to drop that into the CRM here. And then you can manually use this CRM to follow up with the leads that have been sent these reports. So let's go back over to our make.com account. I'm going to just save this. I'm just going to grab the title of this. I'm going to come back out. And then we're going to create a new scenario. Where is it? Here. I'm going to create a new scenario. I'm going to call this 2 of 2. And this is going to be send the report. And again, guys, don't forget, if you do want to download the templates for these, so you can just plug and play and then add your own accounts to make.com, and you can just click in the description below and all of the templates and stuff are in there for the Airtable database and for these make.com blueprints. So we're going to click on Airtable. We're going to click on watch records. We're going to look for our lead generation database. We're going to click on the table. We're going to use lead data. And then the trigger field is going to be last modified. I'm going to use the label as the company URL. The company. And then I'll just update the limit to 100. And then the formula here is going to be when the report status is equal to report approved, right? So if we come back over here, we go curly bracket report status, curly bracket equals report space approved. I'm going to click on OK. And then if I choose manually, you'll see the one that we've just added in there, right? So Construction Skills College. I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to run that. And now we've pulled all of that information, which is great. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to get Claude, because it's a really good writing AI assistant. We want to get Claude to write the email, but we want to give it the context of the website report. So the first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to click on get content of a document. So if I type in get content of a document, you can see in the Google Docs, we've got get content of a document. And then we're just going to grab the document ID. You'll remember we stored that at the end of the last automation, and that we used that in here to grab the document ID. I'm just going to quickly, if I just grab that actually, if I grab the document ID from here, where is it? There. And then I'm just going to click run this module only. I'm going to drop that document ID in just so that we've got something to work with. Then I'm going to go here, I'm going to use Claude. Now, if you don't have Claude, you can just use ChatGPT for this. I just prefer Claude. So Anthropic's Claude, create a prompt. And I've got a prompt that I've created in here. I'm going to use max tokens as 1,000. I'm going to use the user as a role, and then the content is going to be text. And then in here, just going to copy and paste one prompt that I've already got in here. And you can see I've kind of refined this a little bit, right? So I've got write an engaging intro email for a company called, and then we're going to pull the company from the Airtable record. Make the first line funny, but not cheesy or cringe. I mean, we state not cheesy or cringe, but it has a hard time crafting something that is not cheesy or cringe. But hey, we got to just go with it, I think. So my name is Sam Wilcox, and I'm emailing from a company called Natural Web Design. This is, my company isn't called that. It's just Natural Design and Automation. But for the sake of this, you can see where I'm going. And we're sending them a high-level website report that we've done for them on their website URL. And we pull that in from, we pull all these variables in from this first Airtable record here. attached to this email. So that just says that it is attached to this email. The report is attached to this email. You may be able to guess their name by their email, but if it's not clear, just use hey there in the intro. The reason why I've added that in is because some of the email addresses that we will have scraped might have like sam@natural.agency, so it can guess that the name is going to be Sam, so it'd be able to say hey Sam. But in this case, you can see it's just inquiries@tradeteacher.co.uk. So in that case, it's, we just want to put hey there, rather than hi inquiries, right? So make sure you always write in British English and you clearly define the subject and the body copy in the output of this message. Here's the context of the report to give you context. So I'm going to then, in here, we're going to use the content here. So text content, you can see. I'm going to drop that in, click on OK. So now if I just click here, choose where to start, right click here, should I say, sorry, right click on Airtable, choose manually, Construction Skills College, OK. Let's just run this through. Just going to grab the content of that, and then we're going to pass that through to Claude, and Claude's going to create us a clever email. And we can see here that our output is our text response. The subject is hammering out a better website for Construction Skills College Limited. And then we've got, hey, did you know the average person spends more time browsing websites than they do actually building things? Well, we're here to change that, at least for your website. So you can see it's like got some personality. It's pretty good, like it does pretty well at this stuff. The full report is attached to this email, but here's a quick preview of what we covered, your current website strengths, areas, what you think. So you can see like this is like really engaging as an outreach email, much better than the ones that I get in my inbox anyway that just says, hey, can I borrow 10 minutes of your time for a coffee? So yeah, this is awesome. And then what we're going to use here, we've got a couple more steps that we need to add before we send the email. The first one is we actually need to be able to separate the subject from the body of the email. So I'm going to actually use ChatGPT to do that, right? So I'm going to use transform text to structured data. And then we're going to use just the GPT-4o mini. The text to parse will be the text response from Claude. Make sure that I've got the right connection here. And then for the prompt, I'm just going to say, there is an email draft that needs splitting into subject and body. It doesn't need really any more information than that. In here, I'm going to define the data. So the parameter name is going to be subject. And then description is this is the subject. And then I'm going to add another data definition here. Oh, sorry, I need to put that as text. I'm going to add another data definition here. And then we're going to call this body. And then this is going to be, this is the body text. And then data type is going to be text. Going to click on OK, and what that's going to do is going to split that one big text response into two. It's going to split it into a subject and then the body, right? So if we run this module only, you can see it wants that text response. So I'm just going to come into here, click on the text response. I'm just going to give it the text response here just to test this. Copy that in, click on OK. So now you can see it's just going to transform that to structured data. Now you can see in the output, we've got two parameters in this bundle. We've got a subject, which is great, and then we've got the body. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to attach the report to the email, right? So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click on Google Docs. I'm going to go to download a document. And remember, we restored our document ID in the previous automation, which is coming in really handy now. If I click in here, I'm going to scroll down to Airtable. I'm going to grab the document ID, and then I'm actually going to download this as a PDF. I'm going to click on OK. And then we're going to send our email. So now we've got everything to be able to send our email across. So just come into add a new module, type email. I'm going to click on send an email. Now I've connected my Gmail up to this. You'll need to connect yours up as well if that's what you use. Then as the recipient, what you would put in here is the email address from the Airtable record, like that. For the sake of this video, for testing, I'm just going to put my email address in, sam+test, natural.agency. But yeah, you would fill this in with the email field from the Airtable record. Then the subject, because we split this out via our OpenAI widget, so I'm going to move the subject in from here. And I'm going to put this as plain text, not HTML. And then I'm going to put the content down here as the body. And then we need to add our attachment, right? So I'm going to click on plus attachment. And then it's already selected the file from the download document from this module here. And then I'm going to click on OK. And then the last thing that we want to do, where is it having an issue? No, it's fine. Click on OK. I'm just going to quickly save this. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to update our Airtable. So we're going to update the record. Let's go back into our base. I'm going to go to lead data. Going to find our record ID from the beginning, and then what we're going to do here is I'm just going to update the outreach status to email sent. I'm going to click on OK, and that's it, right? So I'm going to turn this on. Let's save it one more time. Actually, we'll do a little test first. So if I come to choose where to start, choose manually. I'm going to grab our Construction Skills College. I'm going to click on Run Once. This is going to run through. I'm going to get the prompt from Claude. I'm going to transform it into the structured data, and we're going to add the documents. We send the email, and then we're going to update our Airtable record as well. So if I come over into Airtable, this was added to report approved. Now in our CRM, we can see email sent here. And now you can start a sales process off the back of this. You can start following up with these people and reaching out to them saying, hey, did you find the report? Like, was it interesting? Do you want to have a chat about stuff? And you can feed this into a sales team or however you might want to run your business. Obviously, like I always say, these systems are just to give you an idea of like what's possible here, and you can tweak all of the different parts of this to make it suitable for you. If you need any help with that and you want to work with me on an automation, let me know. Drop look in the comments below, and not the comments, the description below, and you can contact me through there. All right, so now you can see I've just screenshotted the email here. So that email's just come through to me. And you can see it's got the email in here, everything's structured nicely, and you've got access to the report as well. So that's everything, guys. So just to go over the process quickly, all that you would now need to do is turn these bad boys on, click save, come back to our other scenario. No, it's not in there. Where is it? So many scenarios now, guys. Creating the web report, turn that on. All right, so now these two are turned on, creating the report and then sending the report. You come back over here. We've got all of the ones that we grabbed the email data for in the previous video. When we grabbed all that email data, we've now got our report workflow. So we're going to check each one of these. We're going to find the ones that we do want to work with. We're going to drag them into here. So that ready is now going to trigger the report to be generated. Once that report is generated, it will move into here, which we will then again check over, make sure the report's good to go. Then we'll move the report, we'll move it manually from report generated into report approved. And then once it moves into report approved, it's going to then trigger to send the email and then move everything into this CRM. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope that's been useful. Definitely more business process stuff, and I suppose like automating like an entire system for a business. So from data scraping, to email gathering, to report generation, to email sending. I mean, the whole thing. And obviously there's a bunch of stuff in here that you could tweak and make sure that is right for your business, be it the AI assistants, the AI agents, the way that some of the workflows work. Hopefully this was helpful, and yeah, check out the templates and stuff in the description. Let me know if any questions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.